Stimulating talk, 1470, 100.3 WMBD. This is the Robbins and Markley Show. I'm Scott Robbins. That's Jamie Markley.
Charter Oak principal John Wetterauer has been on paid administrative leave for a month or so now because of testing discrepancies or inaccuracies, whatever you want to call them, at Charter Oak School. And District 150 did their investigation. And then we saw the headline yesterday. Charter Oak cheated. That was the report. Personally, I was not buying that, but I certainly want to get John Wetterauer's lawyer on the phone with us, and that is Nile Williamson. Nile, thanks for coming on with us. Appreciate it.
I'm happy to.
Hey, Nile. So, listen, a lot of hyperbolic headlines. Cheating, guilty. It seemed to me in the court of the media anyway that Mr. Wetterauer was convicted before anybody knows his side of the story. What makes this story wrong? Why is everybody wrong that's saying, nope, they cheated?
Well, John has never subscribed to the idea that any of the special education teachers have cheated, but the testing process for special education students is so complex that it's entirely possible that they made mistakes in administering the tests, which he was not aware of at the time and did not participate in any way, nor did he try and cover up. So the suggestion that the teachers cheated is probably an impermissible supposition to begin with.
Niall, one of the things that the D150 lawyer said was that Principal Wetterauer did not train the teachers on how to administer the ISAT tests. What is the real deal there?
The real deal is that when he was interviewed in October and November of 2013, he specifically told them he trained the teachers approximately 35 minutes. The response at that time was, well, you're supposed to train them 45 minutes, and he indicated, I got done with the training, I asked for questions, we answered their questions, and it only took 35 minutes. So it's a totally inaccurate statement in the report that he did not train for the ISAT testing.
In your opinion, Niall, what's going on here? I mean, what is going on here with Charter Oak and Mr. Wetterauer? I mean, this seems to be a minor offense that would require a teacher to be sat down and said, or a principal to be sat down and said, okay, look, let's not let this happen again, okay? Let's not let this happen again. Not the sullying of the reputation or the possible dismissal from a job. I mean, in your opinion, what's really happening here?
Well, I think you've correctly analyzed the situation. But I don't want to speculate on why the superintendent of District 150 is taking this action against John Wetterauer. There clearly is animosity on her part towards Mr. Wetterauer. The suggestion that he should be suspended in this situation is totally out of proportion to what happened. But we are gratified that the report done by the district, principally through its attorneys, I might add, indicates that and recognizes that John had nothing to do with any cheating process, any cover-up process, or had any knowledge of any such activity at the time these tests were given.
Okay, so in that case, Niall, if there were to be any action taken, would it simply be because that Principal Wetterauer didn't train the teachers for 45 minutes, train them for 35 instead?
I don't want to speculate on that. I think that once the board is made aware of the facts through my response, which will be sent out tomorrow, these things may well be reconsidered. As to whether the superintendent of District 150 is going to change her attitude about John Wetterauer, I don't know.
We're talking with Principal John Wetterauer's lawyer, Nile Williamson. You just mentioned that, you felt the superintendent clearly has animosity for Principal Wetterauer. Any idea why?
I do not, other than the fact that John is a engaged individual who probably speaks his mind at many principal meetings. She may have taken offense to that, but that's speculation on my part.
Yeah, and I know you probably can't comment on this. And this story's been told several times, that there was a specific reading program that was kind of, John Wetterauer was pressured to use, and he didn't want to use it because his students would take a step backwards.
Again, I wouldn't want to speculate.
Right.
So where do we go from here, Nile? Where do we go from here? I mean, they've asked and said that he would be given an opportunity to explain himself and what happened, and as of right now, that meeting is yet to be scheduled. Is that still where we stand?
I'm not sure there'll be a meeting. I'm going to send a letter tomorrow. It is now drafted and it's being fact-checked to their attorneys. And if the district or the board wants to meet with John, I'm sure he'll be happy to do that. But no meeting has been suggested or scheduled at this point in time to my knowledge, and I just spoke with him an hour ago.
Now, there was one thing that I saw in District 150's report that would show the special education students' test scores, their ISAT scores, from third grade and fourth grade, but when they get to fifth grade, they compare it to the MAP scores, which is completely different. And they would argue that the results should be similar. But yet they say that this quote-unquote cheating had gone on for 2-3 years. I don't understand why they wouldn't just compare ISAT to ISAT if that was truly the case. Can you explain that?
Again, you're raising a very good point, which I have noted in my response to the district's attorneys. The public will not understand that the ISAT test is a paper-pencil test, which is easier for a special education student to take. The MAP test is done by technology, generally on a computer. And many times a special ed student will score lower on the MAP test just because of the format of the test. And the report that was issued by District 150 on last Monday night assumed a direct correlation between ISAT and MAP scores, and that's simply not the case. We don't know whether this is a misunderstanding because the district's attorneys were the ones conducting the investigation, or whether they intentionally misstated that, because there is no exact replication of scoring between ISAT and MAP, and certainly there are people at District 150 who knew that. And I might add that not only did the superintendent know of all these test scores at the time, but so did the research department of District 150, and that is the department that's designed to do all the testing of the data analysis. And when they saw these test scores at the time, they did nothing. It was only after apparently teachers at Mark Bills, the special education teachers, whose students were scoring very poorly at Mark Bills, complained to the central office that this issue came up.
Well, that doesn't make any sense then in the report where they say that the principal should have saw the discrepancies in scores and needs to be held accountable if the superintendent saw the same scores.
Well, of course it doesn't make any sense. We've told the district that.
Nile, what happens at the end of the day if the board gets together and decide that John Wetterauer is no longer allowed to be principal at Charter Oak? I mean, what can you do after that? I mean, is there a path that you take to try to get him reinstated?
Yes and no. If John has a contract with the district, if the district indicates at some point in future time that he is not to return as principal of Charter Oak for this particular school year, but they continue paying him his salary and benefits, there really is no breach of contract, and there's unlikely to be a legal action. On the other hand, if they were to stop paying him salary or benefits, legal action would likely incur.
But doesn't this, I mean, if he is, in fact, forced out or fired in this case at Charter Oak, I mean, would it be fair for me to say that this, because of the cloud that he was removed from, that would impair his future earnings?
It could, although I don't want to speculate in that either.
Okay, Niall, listen, I appreciate it.
Niall Williamson, Charter Oak Principal John Wetterauer's attorney. Appreciate the insight very much, Niall.
Sure.
Okay, thanks. Appreciate it.